Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngong. We're in $1 Million March, and today is our 7th training. Today we're talking about your $1 Million books to read. If you have not caught up on all of our trainings for $1 Million March, you can watch the videos in our Facebook group, the She's Making an Impact Facebook group, or catch up on the She's Making an Impact podcast. We have talked a ton about the different things, what it's going to require for you to create $1 million business. And today we're talking about $1 million books. You know, I'm a huge fan. I'm so cold. I just had Shakeology. So I'm like, it's like I put so much ice in there. So I'm like freezing. Anyways, so I talk a ton about mentorship and coaching. And one of the great ways that you can get mentorship and coaching, obviously, like you should have a personal coach. I think that's really important. But reading books is another way to gain insight into some incredible people and some of the lessons that they've learned. So I have a list. I'm thinking of how many books I have read over the past decade plus of, doing this. It's a ton. So I try to condense it to what are the ones that have made the biggest difference into actually creating $1 million business. And so when it comes to, reading books and doing personal development, it's called personal development for a reason. It's personal. So a book that has made a huge impact for me when I was first starting out, if I read it now, it wouldn't have been as relevant, So it really depends on where you are in your journey of personal growth and personal development. So I'm going to give you some recommendations. If you need more specific ones or you're like, ooh, I don't know which one to start with, ask me. Let me help you. Okay. So 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, as well as The 5 Levels of Leadership. Those are 2 books by John Maxwell. And I have two more from him. Why do I have John Maxwell here? Because he is amazing. He's so anything you need to know about leadership, he knows. He is the go-to leadership expert in the world. And to grow a business to $1 million, you have to work on your leadership skills. It is so important. Leadership is the one thing that will make or break you creating a $1 million business. John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. And it's true. A lot of the issues that you're going to see pop up, require leadership and leadership skills for you to solve those problems. Okay, so 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, The 5 Levels of Leadership. I was looking at my bookcase this morning, so I have Leader Shift as well. Sorry if you can hear the dog. He's on a bike. Toby, chill. And then Intentional Living was one that made a big difference for me too. The book Intentional Living by John Maxwell. So again, those are all leadership books. Intentional Living is how you're showing up day to day. Are you living your life intentionally? That was a great book. Another one that made a big difference, I actually read this one this past year. So more recently, it's Who, Not How. Who, Not How. A lot of times we think, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. But in reality, you need to figure out who do you need to hire or who do you need to work with in order to implement that thing that you don't know how to do, and you don't need to figure out how to do it. You just need the right who. So Who, Not How is a great one. Next, Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer. So again, these are it really depends on where you're at in your personal development journey. I love Joyce Meyer. I think she's incredible. And this was a great one. I probably read this over 10 years ago, but it's still in my head of a great book around mindset. And falling in that same category, a book that's similar, it's Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel. I loved this one. I want to say it's more recent. It came out maybe 5 years ago. My time frame could be totally off, but I believe it is. And I loved this because if you know Craig Groeschel, he founded one of the most successful churches in America. And he created, him and his church created the YouVersion Bible app. So when I think of leadership, I think of Craig Groeschel. He is just an incredible leader. And in this book, one of the things that really stood out to me is his authenticity and his vulnerability of the anxiousness and different things that he was experiencing and feeling and how I was like, oh, Craig Rochelle deals with these things too, huh? It's not just me. And then he shared like what he did specifically to overcome it. So Winning the War in Your Mind is a great one. Okay, other book recommendations for you. I already mentioned John Maxwell, but Failing Forward by John Maxwell is another really good one. Failing Forward, just getting you in the right frame of mind of pursuing failure, because you got to pursue failure. If you want to be successful, you got to fail. And the quicker you fail, the faster you'll succeed. So Failing Forward by John Maxwell. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Again, like these are oldies but goodies. I read this one again forever ago. But it got me. It really made me think about how to approach my business. I was just interviewed on a podcast yesterday. And they're like, you have like 400 episodes of your podcast. And I'm like, yeah, it's the compound effect. It's small, seemingly insignificant actions that really make a big difference over time. So that one, if you are struggling with consistency, the compound effect is a great one. I mentioned the 12-week year by Brian Moran when I talked about creating your $1 million growth plan of creating the 90-day year. So that book, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran, it really helps just giving your goals some urgency. Okay, next one, not necessarily business related, but more finance related, is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And if I have created a podcast episode about the top money books that you need to read. So I can link that below. But I love Rich Dad Poor Dad, just getting, seeing the different quadrants of earning money and seeing, we're in small business. How do we shift that over to becoming an investor? It really made us think of how we approach our finances differently, and then shifting over and using the money from this business, using it as a money machine to fund our investments and becoming investors. Okay, next one, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. He is known as like the toughest man alive. He's crazy. And a lot of the things that he does, I would never do. Not because I'm not tough. I'm tough to a fault where I've like injured myself. Like if you know the injuries I've had, let's see. I played volleyball with a broken back in high school, a broken foot in high school, sprained ankles, slipping rib syndrome, torn cartilage in my wrist, needed surgery, foot surgery. Like I am tough to a fault, but to the fault where like I feel the pain now and I don't regret it, but yeah, I can push myself too much. So he pushes himself to the limit, to the extreme. It's good in the way of like, you can understand the different psychology of what it makes to make someone like that, like the ultra toughest man alive. It was fascinating. And a really good one based, like after I read that, I then read Jesse Itzler's book, Living with a Seal, which was hilarious. Because he actually had David Goggins come and live with him for a month and like train him and kick his butt. That was a really good one too. Okay, that wasn't even on my list. I just thought of it. I was like, oh, that was good. Okay, next one in terms of toughness, mental toughness. Because what does it require to become $1 million earner? You need to be mentally tough. So the book Relentless by Tim Grover. Oh, sorry, Tim. But it's called Relentless. You'll find it. That one's great. He actually was the one that trained the Bulls and like Michael Jordan. And so getting an insight into what makes someone that successful, like what's the mindset that makes someone that successful, and making them relentless. So I loved that. Okay. And the last one on my list is actually right here because I was referencing it yesterday with a client. Whoa. Too many things on my desk. The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. It's a funny title, and he is hilarious. He's very much a no-nonsense, no BS, says what's on his mind kind of dude. So don't get offended with any of the things that he said. Obviously, the book is called The Road Less Stupid. Trying to help you become less stupid as you grow your business. But it's great because he's giving you really intentional questions for you to think about and creating like thinking time to help you grow your business. Okay, so let's recap. There's so many good ones here. And if you're like, I have no idea what to start with, just ask me. And I can give you a recommendation. Just send me a DM on Instagram at She's Making an Impact or comment on this video. Be like, hey, Rachel, my biggest issue right now is X. What would you recommend? And I can give you a recommendation because I've read like a million books. Okay, John Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Intentional Living, Failing Forward, Who Not How, Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, Relentless by Tim Grover, Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Rochelle, The Compound Effect. Did I already see that? Darren Hardy? Ooh, he's on here twice. It must have been a good one. And The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. I hope you found this helpful. And if you need extra support in building your business, make sure you book a free strategy call with our team. Just go to helpmecoachnow.com. That's helpmecoachnow.com. And have a great rest of your day. And share this with a friend. Have a good one. Bye.